Colorism, the secret shame. Hello, I'm Christian Sanders. Today we will look over an overview of colorism. It's a phenomenon that's typically looked over by women in the academic community, but it branches out to so many other people. Today we review this phenomenon from a male's point of view, which is typically underrepresented when speaking about the topic. In American community, this is played out via the paper bag test or the cone test, in which we decide if someone is actually black enough. Colorism mirrors white supremacy, looking at those with lighter skin to be more privileged than their darker skinned counterparts, but this is not strictly based on skin color. You can see some examples of colorism in action by viewing this clip from Spike Lee's film School Days.
The word is excuse me.
Nobody told you to stand in the hall either. Excuse me.
That's better, Miss Thing.
It's not real.
Say what? You heard. It ain't even real.
You wish you had hair like this.
Girl, you know you weren't even born with blue eyes.
That's right. Blue contact lenses.
They're just jealous.
Right.
Jealous. Rachel, I've been watching you. Look at Julian. You're not slick.
If that was true, he wasn't much to look at.
Tell me,
Pickaninny, Barbie doll, high yellow heifer,
Tar baby.
Want to be white?
The current discussion on colorism mostly stems from some work done on the Oprah Winfrey Show by Dr. Iyanla Vanzant. And here she discusses the origins and some of the effects of colorism.
Iyanla says there is one destructive and deep-rooted issue that she often finds in her work, because this is an issue that wreaks havoc, particularly in the African-American community, but in other communities as well.
Latin communities and Asian Indian communities. And even, I understand in some of the Southern Asian, whether it's Chinese, Vietnamese, the issue of
Colorism.
You know?
Colorism, it's called. It is the light skin, dark skin prejudice where people of color discriminate against each other within their own race. Now, you may have seen the documentary called Dark Girls. Did you all see that? Very good. Bill Duke, a few months ago on OWN. And it generated one of the biggest online discussions we've ever had. And it really boils down to the belief that the lighter your skin tone, the prettier you are, the smarter you are.
more valuable and worthy you are.
True. And the easier you have it, that's the perception. So colorism has been around for a very long time. Where did it come from?
Well, its roots are really go all the way back to slavery, where the slave women were bred and created children, and the children became lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. And that the mother herself was often left out in the field, and she therefore became a field hand, I'll say hand, and the lighter women were taken into the house to serve the mistress, to take care
And
of
the lighter
children.
women, they were lighter because everybody came over as Africans.
That's right.
And as brown-skinned Africans.
Dark,
dark black Africans.
African Americans today are so far removed from that reality till they don't even recognize the lasting cellular and genetic impact that it still has on us, that we still have colorism, light skin, dark skin, you're better than, more worthy than. They don't even...
And you're better than because the closer you are to being white,
Yes.
the better you are.
Here is one student's discussion on where he believed the origins of colorism have come from and some of his opinions on the topic.
We have a class society where, the whiter or the lighter skin you are, the more, essentially you're more of a perfection. We've had this idea within our head for 300 plus years that, white's the epitome of perfection. White is how you're going to succeed in life. And I think we as a black community, we need to realize that, it's not your skin color that's going to define you. It's, your work ethic. It's what you're trying to prove to other people and to yourself, essentially. And I think, especially in my life, we come to Marietta, all of us, maybe not you, but you know, you come to Marietta and you look around and you see very few people your skin color, and you're just shocked at, like, where am I? I'm in the middle of nowhere. And I think it's kind of hits you, like you really realize. I mean, I grew up in a suburb with half the community was black, so it wasn't a big shock. But then you come here, it's much different. I think we're just realizing as a whole. I think, it makes us really realize how America is as a whole, too.
In order to view different students' perspective on colorisms, I held a couple community forums here at Marietta College just to get an open forum on how people feel about the issue and how they may have affected them. Here we will look at one particular individual's experience as a darker-skinned male and how his perspective has been changed by the colorism phenomenon.
So the few people that did speak talked about, light skin being something that, means you're not black. But, on the other side of things, a lot of my childhood was revolved around being made fun of for being dark skinned. And I feel it was a point where, the darker your skin was, it was the worse you were actually, made fun of and treated. And it got to the point where I hated, like, the summertime, just because I know I was going to be out in the sun as an athlete and I was going to get even more dark. So I've experienced it, obviously, but it's something on both sides that we just got to work on controlling.
Now we will look back to the discussion had on Oprah Winfrey's show with Dr. Ilana Van Zant, in which we see colorism on both sides of the spectrum and how it affects women in the African American community.
As a light-skinned African-American woman, I can tell you, yes, I have darker family members. I see what they face and what they deal with. I don't tolerate it. I was never raised in my family to tolerate it. At the same time, though, being a light-skinned girl, you get called names. You get called light bright. You get called high yellow. This is a red bone. This is a reality every day. And they make you feel as if you're alienated. You're not black enough. You're alienated from your own people. You're never black enough. Your long hair automatically means you think you're all that. Your light skin automatically makes you think you're pretty. But we're still black in America. None of us feel advantaged.
Well, here's the piece that I find very interesting is that both the dark and the light are experiencing the same things at different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Because you got insulted by being called high yellow or red bone, but somebody being called a coon, a jigaboo, and a monkey, you understand, tar baby.
We're called that too. We're called that too.
We're called coon and jigaboo and all of those same things too. We're still called that. On top of light bright and all those other things, we're still also
So
called
the
that.
outside world that sees you as just a black person heaps the black stuff on you.
Exactly.
And then within the community, you get it. Wow.
Now that you have viewed a female perspective of being a light-skinned individual within the African American community, let's look at a male's perspective.
Basically, colorism is kind of the same thing both with light and dark. I remember in elementary school being called a white boy just because I was lighter. And it was still by people who were lighter than me, I guess because of my actions or whatever. But I don't know, colorism is just a hard subject for us, as you said to begin with. I remember I read something that said, it was talking about slavery, and the guy said, if you want to control the Negro Nation, basically divide them by color, by lighter and darker. And that will last for about 200 years, and it's still lasting.
Now we will look over some ideas to curb this phenomenon.
I think that the healing really is going to begin when each of us look at each other and validate each other's experience.
Yes.
That's when the healing really begins.
A wound needs a witness.
Exactly right. When we can look at a
That's the
dark-skinned-
tweet, people. A wound needs a witness. And that's what this is. More than anything tonight, I think there have been, just like the Twitter that just said, not knowing that light-skinned women had painful experiences, that's opening up the wound and opening up the opportunity for a conversation.
To encourage more discussion, the questions were asked if people had experienced this phenomenon, how it may have affected their life, what did they feel was the underlying cause, and how did they feel society could move past this issue. These questions were used to spark more discussion, and here are some more of people's thoughts.
Colorism has affected my life in a lot of ways because even as a kid, whether you know it or not, you set into the ways of like light skin and dark skin, and I feel like light skinned people always get like treated better, or like I feel like it because I'm not light skinned, I guess. Light skinned people like get a better rap than dark skinned people. Like even on the news and stuff, when they talk about males, they talk about them as being like black and dark skinned. They usually never say like they black and light skinned. So like just being like a dark skinned male, and like my mom has dreads, and I used to have dreads and everything, like braids and stuff. And that's even worse because like they always talk about like dread heads on TV as like being like violent and everything, violent Jamaicans or whatever, you know. And they always make them dark skinned, you know. They never show like a light skin, dread head or anything like that. And I feel like that just affected me like negatively because I wanted to cut off my dreads because I felt like everybody was judging me because when I was only like 10 years old. So, and I also like, I used to want to be light skinned. I don't know why. I guess I thought it was like the cool thing to do, but now that I see that your skin tone really doesn't make a difference. And I learned a lot from like just the light skin, dark skin beef, quote unquote, and like just from learning and talking to light skin people because they feel the same way kind of about dark skin people. So I learned a lot and it affected me in a lot of ways.
My opinion is that, you know, the whole light skin, dark skin, you know, all that will stop once the true oppression stops, you know what I mean? Because what I personally feel is that, you know, as a African American race is that, you know, we're going through year after year, you know, hundreds of years of so much, being, singled out and, you know, going through everything that we're going through that, you know, at some point you start to find, it's like being stuck in a cave. At some point you're gonna find any crack for light, you know what I mean? So, or, you know, any breath of air being underwater. So, you know, over all these years of being oppressed, you know, at some point people start branching off and, you know, people that are, you know, either lighter or darker are gonna find reasons of why their skin complexion or, you know, whatever to set you apart. It's like, I seen a video where these third grade students didn't really understand racism, so the teacher pretty much told them if you have blue eyes or if you have, you know, I can't remember the specifics, but pretty much made them feel, you know, different, you know, separated the class with blue eyes, brown eyes, whatever the case might be. And, you know, it's not until you realize that there's something different about you is when we start separating ourselves. And, you know, obviously, you know, we're all different, but, you know, it should, our color isn't what we need to focus on. And until we could, you know, get over that hump that our color doesn't, you know, define what makes us better or worse from, you know, the next person, you know, that's when things are going to get better, I feel like.
In conclusion, we must look past the surface of one another's skin and truly learn to judge one another by the content of our character. Thank you for watching this special on colorism. I'm Christian Sanders. Have a great night.